Right, time for a game review. It's time to Oh, right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Game Hub. I'm your host, GamerK. Underrated games tend to always be a problem for me. Mostly because when a great game doesn't get enough publicity, it can tend to seep through the cracks and not be seen by gamers. Here at the Game Hub, the bizarre, the odd, and obviously the underrated will always be talked about here. Those games that from your childhood you kind of think, was that a thing or did I just dream that? Or in my opinion, games that don't get enough screen time that are brilliant games, but they aren't advertised well, or people don't know about them, so they don't even bother to pick them up. I remembered I was reviewing this game, and I forgot that it's magic scissors and not a magic key. Next time. So, yeah, today on the Game Hub, we will be reviewing a very kind of classic game, for me at least. It's a game that is bizarre, it's fun, and unlike most games, you don't need to pay through the nose just to play the first level. So, welcome to the stage, ladies and gentlemen, and turn off your phones, put them on silent, and enjoy the show of Puppeteer. Let's get started with the premise of this game. So this game is developed, let me just double check, by Sony and by Japan Studios, which are the people who did Knack. Unfortunately, it wasn't a knack of talent that got that game through the hoops. Puppeteer was one of the last games I ever bought for the PlayStation 3, and it shows that that was a big decision because this was for the last of PlayStation 3, and Knack was for the new age of PlayStation 4. You think they were originally going to do it the other way, but some idiot at the office decided, let's see what happens if I switch these ideas around. That's what we get. We get a dumb game, we get a dumb sequel, and an amazing last-minute and last-generation game that deserves a spot in anyone's library. Developed in 2013, this game came out right after I got out of high school. And I was thrilled for this game because throughout class, when we were on the computers, I would check out new updates for the game. I would check out new videos on YouTube because I was so hyped because it looked unique. It was very distinct. And all in all, I liked the game before it even came out. So that tells you something of how intense it was. So it came out in 2013 for the PlayStation 3, as you can pretty much see. And it's a riveting game. The premise was done by but the developers wanted to do research in Japanese lore, Japanese aesthetic. So I think they went to Japan to find some stuff, and he saw this Kagakiri movie theater, which are basically puppets that have only a little bit of motion, but the sets move around the puppets, and not the puppets moving throughout the sets. So that gave this guy a cool idea. Instead of moving throughout the world, the world can move throughout you via a magical theater. And that's where this game takes place. And they do that aesthetic in spades by having all the characters be a cast, so like they're all performing a show. They have a narrator talking throughout the game as you do certain things throughout boss battles and not missions, but events throughout the game. They do, during the cutscenes, they do a good majority of hilarious skits about musicals, about how the set changes and how some people aren't ready for the next set, and it's hilarious. Actors being over dramatic and taking too long to finish their lines. They do this, and not only that, but throughout the game, whether you get attacked, whether something bad happens, whether you complete a level or beat a boss, the audience is there to applaud and cheer for you. And I'm going to get to that later on in the game when I give my final verdict. So, talking about time, this is basically a story-driven game with not that many other stuff to do outside of the game. There is co-op mode, kind of, like you play the main character while a friend can play the Piccarina, who's the little pixie character who will help you. You can help defeat enemies, you can collect heads, you can collect the moon sparkles, you can collect all the other stuff in the game. Just basically help around. So it's pretty fun. Unlike Knack, where you just create a metal Knack, and oh good boy. I think I'll get to Knack one day too. I mean, I'll have to borrow it from my cousin. So, yeah. So Puppeteer's basic story is, it tells a story about a world on the moon. And if you think that's bizarre, how do people build a giant planet-sized starship in space? Tell me how the construction plan for that works. You can't. So yeah, the magical world on the moon, a moon bear king has taken over the moon for 3 years. And he's been spiriting the souls of children from the earth and turning them into wooden puppets to make sure no one can stand against him. Unfortunately, via the magic of plot, a boy named Kutaro comes. As you can see, the main character, Kutaro, with his head. Now, to guarantee that he can't do anything, the Moon Bear King rips off his head and tosses him aside. And this is actually pretty good. Kutaro is the only character in the game who doesn't have a voice. I kind of like that in games like this. They don't give the character, the main character, a voice, but they do make him the main character. But throughout the cutscenes, throughout the game, he does do some hilarious things just by exploring everything, which is another premise of the game. So throughout the game, you will find new heads by interacting with objects in the levels, using a head to do an action. You will get a new head. There's 100 heads throughout this game, and some of them are difficult to find, but I'll get to more of that later on. So the main tutorial mission, the level, isn't that bad. It teaches you all the basics, So this is basically a platforming and action game, but not too much action as it is platforming, puzzle solving, stuff like that. But it's really fun though. I usually didn't like these games that much as I got older, but this one definitely made it fun for me because of the environment and it's not that difficult to do either. This game is only as hard as you make it. But then I guess, kind of like any performance, a couple trial runs and errors are needed in order to complete the level and figure out how to do things. So this game does that very well. It doesn't spike up the the difficulty does go up with each level, but in a moderate way. Like, it's not like you're just finished one boss and then the next level is going to be super, super hard. The progression system is very easy. It's very low-key. It's not so It's not so hefty on making you rush through a level. So you can enjoy, and I'm just going to say this, you got to enjoy the scenery in every single level because each level has their own theme, own aesthetic, and it just seems magical. It's like if Wonderland was a theatrical production. And the sets, all of them look beautifully done. It's animated very well. It does look, and in some levels, you can see the backdrop, the foreground, and the background within the level itself. So it kind of gives you that dimension that this is a magic theater, and they're just set changing on the fly. And it's beautifully done. That's one thing I highly give this game credit for keeping the theater aspect throughout the entire game. And again, the story is fun. It's creative. It's got a couple not mature jokes or subject matter, just some things that are, it tends to go over the head of kids, so be thankful for that. Let's see, what else do we got? The gameplay is very, very unique. For example, throughout the main weapon of the game is the magic scissors Calibras, which is basically your mode of transportation in this game, as well as your main weapon. With the scissors, you can cut enemies, and in order to get... Okay, so the main enemies in this game are the grubs, which are these purple impish things which have the souls of children. So that's one of the main things of the game, too. You gotta fight them and cup the orb in order to release the soul. So the game doesn't have that many enemies, so I'm a little down about that. But it kind of sucks, but at the same time, it makes sure that it's not too cluttered with multiple types of enemies. And then the mini bosses come out, which are the Weavers, which are basically like trial bosses before you get to the main boss next chapter. The Weavers are basically giant cloths that have a different motif based on the area. Like we have a knight, we have let's see what else. We have one of those Denkai drums in Japanese mythology. We've got a pirate one, we've got a cowboy, we got a reaper, and that's pretty much all of them. They're really well designed, and their motif fits within the chapter and the level that they're in. So nothing, it feels like it's offset. Pun intended. Now, there's more gameplay in this other than just fighting with scissors. And who says running with scissors is a dangerous thing? Oh, though it still is dangerous. What else? So within the game, very early on, you'll get the 4 main powers of the game, which is the knight, which you use to deflect beams and shield yourself from damage. However, it can only be used 3 times, and then you gotta lay off it and allow it to recharge. So it's good that they made this shield not broken by giving it a break limit. So kudos to them for finding a way to not make it feel broken, so you can't just guard everything and just clear through the level. They give you the ninja, which you can throw bombs to progress through the level, because everything you do in the level will help you progress through the level. So everything fits. You can use the bombs to take out the enemies as well. Then we get the pirate, which is a hook, which we can grapple, bring enemies closer to us, and then scissor them, and then snip them. You use it to grab items, to grab obstacles and bring them down, or turn switches. Then we get the wrestler, which we just body slam from a high up in order to break something and to progress throughout the level again. One thing I do love about this game is, in a previous video, my Nightmare Before Christmas review, I said that the backtracking in that game was terrible. In this game, it's not bad, because instead of backtracking through another level, throughout the level, you just pick a level, pick a chapter, and just go back to that one, and you have all your power-ups with you. So, and the game definitely needs that, because in certain levels, you can't get a certain head or unlock a certain trophy without a certain head. So, for example, I'll get to that a little bit later. Let's see. So I'm going back to the story. The story is fun. It's entertaining. There's not that much I can say that's bad about it. The humor is there when they do the cutscenes, especially in the boss battles. And the boss battles I'll get to in 1 minute. Every setting is beautiful. The atmosphere is gorgeous. And now to my favorite part of this game. The boss battles are some of the best boss battles I've played in a video game in recent many years. Whenever I want a game with good boss battles, I'll always come back to this game and play, because the bosses are so gargantuan in size compared to the main character, and most of them are so unique. All the bosses are based on the Chinese zodiac, which is something I haven't seen done since Jackie Chan Adventures and Digimon Tamers. That's practically the only time I've ever seen the Chinese zodiac used in such a way. Yeah. And they're all well done. They all have their strengths. They all have their own abilities, their own weaknesses that you have to figure out throughout the boss battle. Like General Bull, when he's charging you, you have to cut up the banner and then super slam him to damage him. Although it's in a circular arena, so you will have to run half the time and be strategic. General Tiger, the first boss battle, is a great opening boss for what you... I mean, the Weavers were the first bosses, but General Tiger was the first boss to show you what you're in for the rest of the game, of how gargantuan and on how to scale each boss is. Because you're such a small character, having these giant bosses makes it feel like more of a challenge. And you're gonna die a good number of times before you get their patterns down, how to stop their attacks. And one thing I love about the heads too, throughout the game, the heads, you use the head actions to either unlock bonus stages, to get extra moon sparkles, to do a certain action. Some of these bosses, using certain heads makes the boss battle all the more easier. So when Tiger has his mace tail, if you have the mace head, you can use it, break open the mace, and it's just a big fluff ball. So when he hits you, it's just a soft ball. It doesn't do any damage. So that's one threat eliminated. And some of them can even make the boss battle even shorter. For example, with Bull, if you get the castanet head, all you gotta do that is once. General Horse will come in, beat him up, and then you just gotta do the QTE. And I know, no, wait. I know what you're thinking, QTE. Ooh, no, I'm not going. Okay, look, just because the QTEs weren't that well done in this, doesn't mean they weren't good in this. And these ones are done beautifully. Not every single part of the game you need to do QTE. You don't. Mostly during the final stage of the boss battles. It's like that epic moment time where you will need to push the correct button, whether X, circle, triangle, square, or L1. No, R1. And the way they do it, it's somewhat cinematic. It's a cinematic reaction time, quick time event, and it's so beautifully done. You're dodging the attacks, you're guarding against them, you're cutting the bosses with the scissors, you're attacking them with the bombs, you're using your strength. It just works in every single one of these. There's not one QTE moment where it's irritating, where it's prolonged, or when it feels like you're just doing the same thing, because they only do it through the boss battles. Whereas some games, they make the QTE sections more prominent in every level, so it gets to be very irritating very, very quickly before you even start doing it. But this game does the QTEs beautifully. They pepper them at the end of the boss battles where it's necessary in order to beat them. Like, it's not, you can't skip a QTE section. They're mandatory, but they're beautifully done. Like I keep saying. And every single boss battle just has that little bit of personality in it. And it's just great. For being, like, General Rat is a salesman. I mean, most salesmen are rats anyway, so it's beautifully done. All the other bosses just work so well in their environment. And each boss battle has their own tricks and attacks to work with. And it's just fun seeing what the next one's going to be if you haven't seen this game already. What else is there? Right, there's not much else to do in this game other than the story. I mean, once you complete a chapter, you will get a little story to do about one of the characters in the game, but those are just more to complete a trophy more than anything else. But it's there. It's nothing special. Now, the head collection. After you complete a chapter, it will show you all the heads that are there. I mean, it won't show you them all, because if you miss some, it will give you a hint of how to get it. For example, hang on, let me think of one. Like, they will tell you which curtain it's in. So, curtain 1, curtain 2, curtain 3. Every chapter has 3 curtains. Yeah, each one has 3 curtains. So, for example, in chapter 2, curtain 1, curtain 1, you will need the pirate hook in order to pull a lantern out and get the lantern head. They give you subtle hints and clues about how to do it, so it's not directly telling you how to do it. You really gotta think it through. So that's something I really enjoyed about it. Even though you have to find them on your own, it's not difficult to if you look through the clues. But there's one I'm gonna give you right now. For every single boss battle, when the bosses are down, like before you do the QTE section, use Pick Arena to tap the bosses, and you will get their boss's head. So you'll get the tiger head for hitting tiger 3 times with Pick Arena, or Yin Yang, the cat. General Dragon, the same thing. When he's knocked out, just hit him 3 times, and he'll give you the dragon head. So it's basically simple of getting the animal heads. And the heads are very, very varied, and they did a great job of doing it. You have a burger head, you have a spider head, a steak head, a gun head, a guitar, castanets, a Grim Reaper head, an owl head, a gargoyle head, a teacup head. The heads just go on and on and on and on, and it's beautifully done. And luckily, in each head only needs to be used once for their ability, so it's not that difficult to do. Let's see, am I forgetting anything? Right! One of the things I always do in a video game review is say how long each game is, obviously. So basically, for the main story, the game will take about 10 hours to complete, which, on average, which, honestly, is not that bad. For a game like this, 10 hours is perfect. I mean, unless you keep dying a lot, so it could be more than that, but also if you're figuring the game out. For the main story, plus all the extra stuff, will take you 11 hours, and for the entire bundle, for doing all the trophies, everything in the game, will take you for a completionist, will take you 20 and a half hours to fully complete Puppeteer. Now, I'm going to say this game is fun for adults and for kids. For any of my viewers, for any of my friends out there who have kids, if you still have a PlayStation 3, and if you can find this game, it's a great game for kids. It's not too violent. It's fun. They can play with their siblings. And also, when I was a kid, every time I played a great game, I wanted my parents there to watch me play, because I wanted some boost in self-esteem and some accomplishment. And I'm pretty sure kids nowadays need that too. That's where this game does well. With the audience setting, they applaud the player for completing a level, for beating a boss battle, and they do the ooh, the ah, the cheers. So I think that thing kind of gives the kid a big boost that the audience is watching them play the game and they're reacting to it. So it helps them. And also so the parents can go take a nap. That's another reason why I think this game is so underrated, because it's perfect for everyone. There's no pay to play. And also, this game doesn't need you to pay anything extra. Nothing. So, GamerK's final verdict for Puppeteer is an incredible and critic perfect rating of a 9 out of 10. And honestly, I'm going to say this. If you haven't picked up Puppeteer yet, it's a shame, because this fun, unique game deserves a place in your library. For the basic fact that it's unique. The story is kind of very convoluted as it plays out, but it's still fun. They make references to a whole bunch of movies, a whole bunch of other things, a whole bunch of shows, kind of. And it's just all around a good time to play. It's not a chore to play. It's a fun game to play. So, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining. Like, comment, subscribe down below. And join me next week as we release our Animal Instincts. No, we're not doing Black Panther, even though I did this. With another Power Rangers, well, Super Sentai to Power Rangers. So, get ready to release your inner animal with next week's video. This is GamerK, logging out.